Hello, everyone. Agnes here. Another wonderful success story today, and it is with Sally in South London. Hello, Sally.
Hi, Agnes.
I'm really excited about this because you and I have had a lot of contact over the last few years, and this is such a beautiful two-part success story. Amazing dream home and incredible romantic new beautiful relationship. I actually know you both personally, so this is very dear to my heart to be able to interview you today, because I've seen your house and I've met your partner, and we know each other as you know my partner, I know yours. We have in-person contact, which, you know, I think that just makes this success story even more special to me, because I've seen the progression as it's been happening and the work that you've done, because you and I have talked about it behind the scenes many times. So can we rewind right back to when I met you, because you were living near me at that time and you were not in this house and you were not in this relationship. So can you talk about what was going on then, and then what you worked on, and then how you got to where you are?
Sure. Well, first, I actually just want to say thank you to you, because you were instrumental in, and frankly still are regularly, in keeping me on the straight and narrow with all this stuff. So thank you. Yeah, I think when we met, it was kind of mid-pandemic, I think, ish. And I was in a little flat, which was lovely, that I'd sort of been renovating, and decided that I wanted to sell it and move. And I was seeing a guy who was very, very nice, but I found him quite frustrating, and you sort of helped me understand that as well. But yeah, I think what the lockdown situation gave me was time to focus on myself and to keep doing the work. So I started doing regular daily self-love practice, which I think started bringing the other relationship to an end. I don't know. Do you want me to keep going? Do you want
yeah. No. I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember, you had a situation where he was creating the drama more so than what you were doing. And I'm saying this because I was observing this from the outside. And it was like, you're going through looking at selling an apartment, and then this is like this little drama in the background that was going up and down, and it just wasn't settling. And you kept saying to me, look, I don't know about this, I don't know about this. And it was like you weren't really about him at that time. Yeah. And but yes, I think the self-love work was the foundation for the house sale and the letting go of the old relationship and this amazing relationship that you wanted, which he is all of that now. Yeah. So can you say what you were doing in terms of self-love that was supporting the sale of the house, attracting the new house, and the relationship? What was your foundational things you were doing at that time?
Well, I think I will just say about the other relationship. He was lovely and it was very easy. And if I'd wanted somebody to be devoted to me for the rest of my life and take all the responsibility off my shoulders, that would have been a very easy part. But I kind of realized that part of making that sort of a choice is when you're not validating yourself or you're not meeting your needs yourself. So it's very easy to let someone do that for you. So I think in terms of the self-love, I decided that I didn't need to be rescued, and I decided I was going to find that, that value from within. So there was a lot of meditation, daily meditations. I did a lot of Dr. Joe. And and I love his stuff. I did a lot of your work. So when I find myself going off the rails, which happens, regularly, I do the walking with the affirmations that for the most part you would give me, and so it was sort of that sort of constant practice. At the same time, I was doing yoga and Pilates and a lot of really healthy eating, like finding time to be calm and centered, instead of busy, and making choices to do what I wanted to do rather than just accommodating everybody else. I think was pretty important. But as far as the self-love stuff, initially when people say you've got to love yourself, it's like, well, how the hell do I do that? It's kind of impossible. We everything we look at, everything we see tells us that we're not good enough, or not this, or too much of that, or whatever. So the constant repetitive work, checking in with you when I was going nuts, and making sure that I, surrounded myself with people that were reinforcing of that. So what became pretty evident too is when you start focusing on that, all of a sudden you realize that there's been conversations with other friends that are just all about the drama. And I kind of didn't notice that before. So on top of that regular practice was choosing not to be part of the drama. And that was hard, because for me, empathy and listening to the drama were pretty closely related to being a loving person. And so I still battle with that, and people become unhappy with you when all of a sudden you're, self-grounded and not needing that pull. So there were little subtle changes in my relationships. One friend I decided I really didn't need to be involved with anymore. So that we ended that, and nothing terrible, it just phased away. But what's kind of miraculous is I think that you're doing all that practice and you're waking up daily feeling better. The things that come to you are very, very different than the things that come to you when you're, in the self-loathing state. Yeah. You like.
Yeah, for sure. And it was like a progression of, the more the self-love took root and you watered it and fertilized, the more it changed the dynamics between, like, the old relationships with your children, relationships with your house. It's like even what was going on at work, like it started to leak in a positive way, like to all different, the different topics of your life. So
most definitely. I think too, I was doing, you introduced me to Neville Goddard because I hadn't read him before, and this sort of beginning with the end in mind, or seeing how you want things to be. I found the other thing that was happening is, this other person that I was seeing, who was very nice, was actually very needy, and I all of a sudden saw how I'd behaved, in other relationships. I saw that feeling of frustration that I was experiencing, that I'd had other people in my life experience. And that, I don't think that was unrelated, because I think if you ask to be taught, if you ask to be shown, or if you ask for what you want to happen, the lessons are going to come up. And I felt so fortunate that I could see, it was like, oh, bloody hell, that's how I've behaved. I must have driven them insane. So that, as far as building up the self-love and attracting the things that were better, there was also this learning. It's a bit like, okay, you want to learn? We're going to give you these lessons and you better be ready. So there was a bit of that going too, I think.
Yeah. So going back on the timeline, when did the previous relationship end? When was that in terms of years and months? What year was
it? That was just after Christmas it's hard to remember what year it was. I think that was 2021. Yeah, just after Christmas 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you found this amazing house, and I remember there was people competing for the house. Wasn't there
Yeah.
3 of you?
Yeah, there were. And there are a few other things actually behind that. Where I was living before, I decided that I wanted to move, and I decided very specifically what I wanted. And I was, lucky enough that where I was living, all of a sudden, was near a lot of parkland, people wanted to live there. So there was a lot of interest in the market where I was living, but where I wanted to go, which is where I live, the area I'd lived in, quite a few years before, was not really, it was a bit stagnant, the market there at the time. So it was as if so many things had to line up for me to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And the right buyer had to line up. And that happened, almost miraculously too. I can tell you about that. But in terms of the house itself, I saw this house. I knew it was very, very well priced, and it was exactly what I wanted. There were things like I wanted it to be within walking distance of a certain area. I wanted it to be over 5 meters wide. Like these terrace houses are sort of between, started about 4 meters wide, but I wanted a wider one.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be livable, but still affordable, and that my budget was pretty tight for a house, like really tight for a house.
Yeah.
I mean, there were flats the same price as I paid for my house. So,
Yeah.
and I went through this house, said, that's it, said to the guy, yep, that's it, I want it. And he said, well, Sally, I'm really sorry, but there's 10 other people who want it and we're going to sealed bids. And I had an offer on my flat accepted that day. So I was in a position to make an offer on the house. I didn't win it. And I didn't at that stage know what it had sold for. So I didn't know how much I'd missed out for, but I wasn't deterred. I printed out a copy of the picture of the house. I stuck it on my fridge, and I drew little pictures of my daughter and me and her boyfriend and the dog and the cat, and the 2 cats actually, and said, this is, thank you, this is my house.
Yeah.
And that's actually not the first time I've done that, nor is it the first time I've told my friends to do that, and every single time it happens. So, and every time I sort of started to think, well, that's gone, I'd say, no, it's going to carry on. So then, lo and behold, he rings me and says, that sale has fallen through. Are you still interested? And what had happened subsequently, a couple of days after I had my offer refused, my sale fell over. So again, my house is not sold. I didn't buy that one. Had my sale fallen over and I'd won that bid, I would have had to pull out. So I wouldn't have got it anyway.
Yeah.
So house wasn't selling. My flat, I'm sorry, wasn't selling. The sale fell over. It rings me back, and I said, look, my sale's fallen over. I'm just not in a position to make an offer. But I said, but I'm looking forward to talking to you when I am ready, and it's fallen over again.
Yeah.
Then I rang him every week just to say, is my house back on the market yet? Because I think I've got to buy it tomorrow.
Is my house back on the market? Isn't
yeah,
that a supposing statement? It's great.
Yeah. And he used to laugh at it. And then, so this went on. I had a second offer on my property, which was a bit lower than what I wanted, but I accepted it. And then that fell over as well. I mean, that particular one was that the family were lending the deposit, and then the family decided not to lend the deposit to the couple that were buying it. So I wasn't deterred, as you taught me, always perfect timing.
Yeah.
So I continued to ring this chap, and then I got a phone call one day from my agent selling my flat, who said, we have this man, he has a limited budget, but he needs something with a lot of storage. He was due to move in a couple of weeks, but he's just had a bad survey on the place he's buying. And he's kind of desperate. My house had a very big loft and a very big cellar, which you access from the garden, which is kind of unusual.
Yes.
Yeah. So they came around made the offer, I said, that's great. And this was just after Christmas that happened. The next day I got a call from the agent in the house that I'm living in now saying, Sally, I've got good news and bad news. And I said, okay, what's the bad news? And he said, the woman who was buying the house, well, there's a couple, they're actually developers, but the woman had lost her job. I didn't feel terribly badly because they have 5 or 6 properties. It was more about a lending criteria. And he said, so it's back on the market. And he said to me, he's had in the last, little bit of time, quite a bit of inquiry about it because they don't tend to say that it's completed. And he said, but if you're able to go ahead, he said, I know how much you want it. The owners have had this fall over twice. It's been a year in the making. He said, I can go directly to them and see if they'll accept your offer or if they want me to go to everybody else who's made a random inquiry. And anyway, I couldn't. He said, if you can pay what they've sold it for. And I said, I can't. I said, I was actually panicking. My daughter was there. She said, hang up, Mum. We'll just sit through and we'll do this and we'll just we'll work out what the right price is and what's going to happen. So in any case, I rang him back and I was £10,000 less than they'd sold it for.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this was New Year's Day. He rang me. He rang back. He said, give me overnight. I'll ring in the morning. Rang me back. He said, yep, you've got the house. It's yours. So it all just went bang, bang, bang. So then it was really quick to actually get in here. And so I moved it. I mean, I always knew it was going to happen. It was great. That was I think putting the picture on the fridge and visualizing myself in there and seeing it all happen. Was amazing. And at the stage when I bought it, the intention was that I was going to divide it into 2 flats because 1, single, living on my own, I didn't need a big space, and 2, just thinking I don't have a lot behind me, so to have that security for the future, that was sort of the plan. To do that, and which is hence why I needed it to be so wide, because it needed to have enough space to do that. But anyway, all the ducks got in a row. After I moved in, I started doing some small amounts of work because it was kind of impossible to get a builder to come and do anything significant. And I have a wonderful mortgage broker, and I got in by the skin of my teeth. Like, we had to pull everything. So I had to just go on a loan that was easiest to access on pretty high variable rate, with the view that we would refinance in 6 months.
Yeah.
When the valuation came in 6 months, he valued it at £225,000 more than I paid for it.
Wow. Because of what you did to it, or just the general market had changed?
No, I bought it cheaply. I bought it very cheaply. Yeah. And so it was such a blessing. And that's why, for me, there were not any other option I looked at I couldn't afford. Like, there was very little. So to actually continue to say, no, this will all work out, was quite a big deal. And then what that also meant, and I hesitate to say this at the moment when so many people are in pain, but I was able to lock in a mortgage for 5 years at a low rate, and that's such a blessing too. So if any of these things had been different, I couldn't have done it. Like, so many things had to fall into place. So I'm just very, very, very grateful, which is the other side of this stuff, I think.
Yes.
I think the single most important thing to be happy in life is to be grateful. Whatever it is, the sun's shining, you can get out of the bed in the morning, you've got something to eat for breakfast. We're just so lucky,
We are. And I think too, you didn't get all devastated every time there was a dropout on your apartment not selling, or this one not, lining up. There was other people that wanted it or whatever. It's like, you just went, oh, well, that's okay. It'll all fall into place. And you went through a bit of a detachment and letting go, which I think really, really worked.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
And in Esther's words, everything is always working out for me. There were some days where I walked around Alexandra Palace just saying that about 1,000 times to sort my head out. And so I stopped panicking, because I did worry about getting a buyer too. I thought, am I going to be just stuck here? And not that it was a very nice flat, nothing wrong, but I just, so I think not being deterred, going with the flow probably, more than detachment, which I guess are the same things, but that trusting in what's happening. And it's hard, life is up and down. And when the relationship broke up with that other guy, there was a time where I thought, oh God, maybe I was hasty, maybe I was this, maybe it was that, going to panic. So sometimes when you lose something, you think, oh, help.
Yeah.
But ultimately that was exactly right too, I think. Yeah.
And what's interesting is because I'm on the north side of the Thames, you're down on the south side below the Thames, and it was that move across the Thames that actually put you, which is the next manifestation, in the vicinity of meeting your next wonderful relationship. It was like a domino effect. Sell the place, then this other place falls into place, then you move in, then you had another few little dates and things in between, nothing serious, and then it was like all of a sudden that was behind you. You were enjoying and riding the wave of this incredible manifestation, just going, wow, I can't believe I pulled this off. And it's almost like that energy then moved forward into, I'm ready for something else. And then, I'll let you tell the story of how that happened, because it was like, it really was a knock-on effect with your these are two huge manifestations for most people.
It was it was quite something. And you were around during all that phase, listening to me talk about all this nonsense and deciding I'd be fine. I got to a point where I thought, actually, I'm really happy, I'm really lucky. I moved back into this area. I had I have some family in England, but not much. And when I moved back down here, the first day I moved in, so many people came to see me, and it went on, for a few days. It was like party in the kitchen amongst the boxes, and I felt like I'm where I belong, and I've got, like family around or friends around. And so I was really, really, really happy, and calm. And I thought, well, if I just stay single, that's fine. I have amazing kids, and it wasn't, so I did detach myself from that. You're right. And so what happened was, a couple of years prior, I'd met, oh gosh, it's such a long story, but I'd made a friend through another friend, who I met at a pub at a gig one night, and she and I, we have similar kind of spiritual interests, and she's great fun, and we had become quite close over, during lockdown and coming out of it, those sort of years, a year before that, and as we went in to that, and we spent quite a lot of time together. And then we're at that stage when things were starting to open up in the middle a bit, where you could, have 6 people at a table kind of thing, still masks, whatever. And we were having dinner at a local pub that we go to, and this guy walked in who she had known for probably 10 years. And it was, a bolt of lightning across a crowded room. It was like, whoa. Now, the funny thing was that I didn't recognize him, but I'd actually met him 3 years prior, 2.5 years prior, 3 years prior, right about then, at a piano bar. And kind of at that stage, he's younger than I am, and he doesn't have children. And I had I thought, I'm not going to go down this road again. And, so we swapped a couple of messages, but I didn't see him again. But there were a few strange things in the middle, whereby I used to go to the pub next to his flat. A friend of mine lived 2 doors down from him. There were plenty of paths crossing, sliding doors moments where we didn't actually meet up. But anyway, that night it kind of just blew both of us away. And he, you know, we both decided very quickly that we wanted to be together, and we didn't, you know, there was quite a period of 10 or 12 weeks till sort of, you know, we went on a date. Basically, we just spoke a lot and saw each other occasionally through them then. But yeah, it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. He's incredible. It's very, very easy. He's very, very kind. It's drama free, right? Absolutely free.
Yeah. And the cherry on the cake is you not only moved, met him, and the relationship started, but now it's come full circle where you and him are now living in this amazing house that you've manifested. It's now your home for the two of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. And my flat would have been far too small for us. And it's as if the house was waiting for him to arrive. And yeah, and it's our home. He's been living here since late October last year. And yeah, and we feel this, there's a lovely mix of settledness and newness at the same time. And I feel very, very, very lucky. Yeah, it's great. We're both just really happy. And it's not to say I don't. One of the things I've talked to you about lately, I think, is that you have to keep staying, you know, in your own lane, or it's very easy. It's very easy to be very free about these things when you haven't got anything to lose.
Yes.
You know, and he's here, and he's a very good-looking man, and there's lots of. He's very personable and likable, and there's lots of attention all the time. And you know, and I have to make sure that I don't start going down that road of, you know, I'm not good enough, or something might happen, or you know, I just have to keep. Just because you're in the relationships, that's lovely, doesn't mean that you can stop doing the work.
That's
like.
it.
I mean, I'm lucky. I get to check in with you and say, I'm going crazy. Can you please sort me out? Thank you.
Yeah, and then we go out and have lunch, eat heaps of food, talk about it, have a laugh, and then you get back on track, which is it's great. It's really great. I mean, it's so nice to be around people that have wonderful relationships, and the person that is, you know, because you and I are friends, you see that your friend and you both do the same type of work on yourself. Like, I could say anything to you about anything I do in my work, and you're doing it in your own life, and we're both maintaining healthy, wonderful, inspiring relationships that get better and better over time, like a beautiful bottle of wine. And you know, relationships can get better. Relationships can be where you meet mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and intellectually, and you bring out that the best in each other. It really, this stuff exists, and your relationship is a good example of that. And like, wow. Okay, let me ask you, because this is something that I think people will benefit from hearing. With the last relationship, when you lived on the north side and then you moved to the south side and you manifested this, what do you think you learned between the two relationships that you now understand that you didn't understand then?
There's probably quite a few things, and there continues to be things, I think. Big one is that your validation has to come internally.
Yeah.
And that it's important not to measure how somebody feels about you by sort of by maybe what this. Sometimes it's like society norms, I think. It things like I'll give you an example from the other day. We had work planned in the house. The builders were coming. My partner had a busy day the day before. He was really tired. I had to go to work the next day. We didn't actually do enough on the Sunday, so I got up in the morning early, and I'm carrying boxes up and downstairs and clearing out the living room. And and he was still asleep. And I started thinking, well, he's big and strong. He should be doing this. And I thought, actually, I'm perfectly capable of doing this. So he can stay in bed. It doesn't matter. This sort of, he would do this for me if he loved me nonsense, which is that. So then I think, okay, it's good for me to do things myself. He will always do things if I ask him to, but just to, my hairdresser describes it, stay in your own lane, she calls it.
Yeah.
But, so sort of not putting, I'm trying to find the right words for it. Not assuming because you're in a relationship that somebody should do something for you, or that something that they do or say is indicative of how they feel about you. Now, I'm not talking about accepting bad treatment or anything like that, but the way we take care of ourselves when we're single is the way we should take care of ourselves when we're in a couple.
Yes.
And not put all those care responsibilities onto the other person because you're in a couple.
That's it. And sometimes it's like, because I know your man has a business and he does work on weekends. So if he's sleeping in on a Sunday, that's part of his self-love to look after himself, because he does physical work in both his job and his business. It's physical. Yeah. So he needs to sleep. He needs to recover. He needs to rest his body. So it's like, it's remembering he's not helping me because he's looking after his own self-love and he's looking after himself, and this is what his body needs to sleep in for a couple of hours. And okay, I'm capable, I'll do it. So it's getting rid of those, okay, well, he's the man, I'm the woman, he should be doing this, and it's like, no, this is 2023. Like, you and I both do our arm weights, we're all right with the arms, we can lift our own boxes.
I still need to open the jars for me sometimes.
Open the jars, yes.
But there's another thing, and I think I originally got this from Brené Brown, but that in a relationship, we come in at the end of the day, I might only have 20% to give that day, so he's got to find the other 80. Like sometimes we haven't got any energy, so we carry each other when it's to not expect, we haven't seen each other all day, you need to be at 100%, but when you're not, it's just, and again, when it's a healthy relationship, these things apply. If it's not healthy, that's a whole different story. But just, being at peace with how people are, and you often say, let them run in the paddock, just let them go and do their own thing. And obviously that, there are certain values that are crucial to the relationship that you don't, neither of you breach. So I'm not talking about things untoward, but just being peaceful and sure enough with myself that we might have seen each other a couple of days, but if he needs to go for a run, or he's actually found a cricket team, so he may well be out Sundays for a bit, well, that's fine if it makes him happy, but we because there's only two of us, we get a lot of time together, so it's not as if we have children and other needs, so a little bit different, but there's that. And a big one which has taken me quite a while to grapple with, I think, when you go into a relationship in the very beginning, everybody's talking about everything and there's a lot of sharing and it's really intense and all of that. I'm a big talker, he isn't, and so I've let that bother me at times, with and worrying about, he's not saying, he tells me he loves me all the time, all of that, but he's not a great one for compliments. He's not a great one for a lot of in-depth conversation. But then I've come to realize that quite often I just don't listen. So if I pause and listen, it will come from time to time. But also, again, self-validation. If he isn't one to speak, it doesn't mean that he doesn't feel things or that he won't want to say them at other times. Don't judge how he feels on the basis of what he says, because some people like to talk and some people don't. And they're just really that, how you feel together, when you're just being, you know, we'll sit side by side and read and not speak for a while sometimes, or
Yeah.
so yeah. So I think filling your own cup, which is, you know, is that which is what you've taught me, and it's so nice to be around somebody who fills their own cup.
And also, like what you're saying is, you go, okay, well, he's not talking much, or he's not. It's like, it's almost like as women we go, well, it's like you assess them through the eyes of how you are. You think, well, that's how I am. If I'm not talking, that means I'm either grumpy, or I'm pissed off, or I'm feeling hurt and I can't talk yet. So it's like you go, well, what's he not talking about? Why isn't he talking? What's going on? It's like, no, that's how certain people are. They're not like us. Not everybody's like us. So it's letting go of judging and assessing through our own eyes. Well, when I do that, that means this. So that must mean that that's what he's doing. It's like, no, not necessarily. Get better at that as you have a good relationship and you get to know your partner better, that what they do is totally different to you. And that's often what makes you come together, is you dovetail together because you're different.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true. And I think, what else? I suppose that's probably the main things. I'm trying to think. The other one, I think I chose him because I didn't feel sure that I wanted to take care of myself for the rest of my life, and he would take care of me, you know. Really honest about that, and oftentimes that's what people are looking for, but really the challenge is actually looking after yourself and then coming together. I mean, there'll always be times when you take care of each other, which is why, you know, this sort of how much energy you bring in or how much health you've got at the time or whatever it is, that ebb and flow and caring for each other is a big part of it. But I think that's really not looking to be rescued, but looking to be centered and loving to yourself. So
sure.
And just being grateful, you know, just grateful.
And grateful for what they give and how they give it, you know, because you're saying, okay, he's not big on compliments, and my partner isn't either. And then I'd be thinking, years ago, he doesn't find me attractive or whatever. And it's like, no, it's not that, because he'll grab me and I know that he finds me attractive. But it was, for me, at that point, it was like, well, you didn't say that I look nice in this dress, or you didn't say that, that looks fantastic on you, or whatever. It's like, you got to look at how people give love, and the giving love isn't necessarily the way you would like to receive it. And you got to get your eyes on noticing, like my guy's very big on acts of service. He is incredible with acts of service, with myself and with family. And that is how, and he always said to me, the greatest thing you can give to someone is your time. And I used to think, like I don't think I registered for a while the how important that is. So noticing how the person gives love, and that 5 love languages is very helpful for that, because I think as women we like compliments, we like, holding hands as you cross the road and all those things. So there will be points where you cross over in your love languages a bit, but there's sometimes our love languages can be quite different, and you can miss how someone loves you if you're looking just through the eyes of how you want love or how you want to be loved.
That's so true. I mean, he does everything around the house. He makes sure, it is actually
Yeah, you and I have similar partners in that way, that they give through those types of things, and it's a real blessing having that. I remember looking at the love languages years ago and thinking, I don't really care about that one.
It's funny, isn't it?
But it's huge. It's someone who takes the time out to do stuff for you, like they're taking time away from their own stuff. That is love. That's huge love.
It is, it's absolutely, and he's so thoughtful, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
One other thing had to learn was I went through this, when you're in the very first stages and it's, all encompassing, that when things start to become normal, it's like, I don't know if things, why aren't they like they were or whatever. But I'm at the stage where that next phase is absolutely lovely. And I don't think life could, you can't continue at that first pace because your life is not, you're not putting all your energies where they should necessarily be. But just to appreciate all of that. And we don't have, but there's no, I guess one of the other differences with the last one, because he was very needy, he would blame me for quite a lot of things. Like, you're not looking into my eyes enough at the restaurant or this silly nonsense. Whereas we have a no blame thing. We'll talk about stuff if it comes up, but we don't, it's nobody's fault. We just get on with it, work it out. And funny, he just rang before and I've had to hang up on him while we're talking, which I normally would never do.
You call him back. That's nice. That's love. He's thinking of you while you're talking about him. That's cute.
So I've rambled on a bit away from
no.
If you want to bring me back, feel free.
No, that's good. I think you've really covered a lot of good ground, and I think it's getting clear about what you want. I love the thing about putting it on the fridge with pictures, and then just saying all the ducks will line up. And I think that's a nice affirmation. No, all the ducks will line up, and then they do. And it reflects back to you that you have trust. And I remember when I rang you the other day, or we were texting, and I said, you said, I can't do the interview today. The builders just knocked something out and we've got like major foundational issues. And I went, okay. And you went, no, it'll be fine. We just got to put it in. It was like, no, it'll be fine. And you didn't even skip a beat. You just, that would freak a lot of people out, foundations of the house aren't good. It's like, no, it'll be fine. The builder will sort it out. All good. But we just had to reschedule. And it was like, I loved how you just went, it's almost like the years of confidence of going, no, if I hop into trust and I know it will go smoothly and everything's working out for me, then that's the way it will head. Things will just go and it will keep going. And that's the way.
That trusting the process, it's so significant. I'll tell you a couple of other things that have happened this week, actually, because initially I had the drawings done for the building. We're doing minor works, but you have to go through building control. And the fellow that did it kind of messed them up. And so my builder, who I'd been waiting to get, because I didn't have enough money to do it when he was available, I said, no, we're just going to wait. And that all came in. We have a month without house guests, and that's when he could do it. That worked out. But then, so I found a new structural engineer to do the new drawings. Lovely, lovely chap. They knock out part of the wall. They discover there's a whole lot of problems. So I ring the structural engineer. He said, I can come now. If the builder can wait, I'll come back now from the other side of London. As it turned out, the builder had to go, but he said, no, I'll come at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Had to redo everything. Wouldn't charge me. The next day we had to dig big foundation holes, which need the building control man to look at. So my builder says, we need the man to come. No kidding, 5 minutes, there's a knock on the door. The building control man, who we'd never met before, said, I was just in the area. I thought I'd drop in. And so I had all these lovely people. I felt like they're taking care of me. The engineer came back, or the surveyor came back, no charges, that's all happened. The building man arrives as if by magic. The same thing happened yesterday. I said, they said, we need him back today. And if you're ever doing these things, if he can't come, that's a day's work. You're paying everybody. Nobody can do anything.
Yeah.
So at 1 minute past 11, I sent him an email saying, we're ready for the next inspection. 5 minutes past, he said, I'm in the neighbourhood. I'll be there in 5 minutes. So it's like, and none of it's been stressful. Like, people have been so kind and so available. And I think that's the thing, when you really choose to trust the flow instead of trying to control. Mike Dawley calls it the cursed howls, but because we think, oh, we've got it. It's very hard to let, especially when you've built a career and all these things, it's very hard to just let things flow.
Yeah.
But
Did
yeah,
you,
so
did you say the
flowing
curse
nicely.
house? The curse of house?
The cursed howls, like
As
how is going to happen.
H-O-W. Yeah.
H-O-W, yeah. This is going to happen. You trust it's going to happen. Don't worry about the how. Just trust.
Yeah.
You know, see the end.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so wonderful. Oh. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of good nuggets in this discussion and interview for lots of people, because I mean, I know there's lots of people that live in big cities and trying to buy a place, and it's expensive and all this stuff goes through your head, and you know, that plus relationships are hard, and my romantic relationship's always hard and it never works out for me. You know, both of these topics are huge topics in people's lives, and hopefully that'll make it a bit easier for people to navigate their own stuff. Sally, hearing your journey, and you know, it's possible to make things smoother. It's possible to relax and release. It's possible to go with the flow. It's possible to trust, but you have to make the mental and emotional effort.
It is. It's doing the work. You have to. And I know when I don't, I get all discombobulated and
yeah.
But yeah, when I, you know, it is like, it's like eating healthily, making sure you get fresh air and sleep and all those things. I think that keeping your mind right.
Yeah, totally. If you get your mind right, everything else, your emotions calm down, your anxiety and stress in your neck and shoulders and your jaw, it all releases, your headaches go away. It's like you stop putting so much angst and just that on the chain. It's like that never gets you anywhere. It just creates more difficulties, more disturbances, more complications, more drama, and all of that. So your emotions and your state you're in affects everything around you. So this is a great example.
I think it's true. And I also just think we sometimes get caught up with how we think things should be.
Yes.
The shoulds can create a lot of trouble, unease for us. And
yes,
I also think, you know, it might sound, listening to these two stories, like my life's been a perfect, peachy, wonderful existence for the last few years. It hasn't. There's a lot of normal family stuff and health stuff and work stuff and money stuff, all sorts of things that everybody has to deal with. So it isn't, it is that none of that's existed. But I think just you know, I feel very, very, very blessed, and focusing on these things that are, you know, lovely, and to be grateful for them makes the other things easier.
It does. It's trying to put love into everything that crosses your path as best you can, and to let go more, like you say, how things should be or how I want them to be. It's like let go of the shoulds and roll with it and take the ride. And sometimes, like your sale of your apartment dropping out, and then the 10 people on this house that you've moved into, it all looks like it's causing disturbances, but it's actually the journey to the house unfolded, the journey to the relationship through the house sale and house purchase kind of lit up the path to your amazing relationship, because it put you on the right side of town to where this wonderful live. So you never know how the next link in the chain is going to take you to the next thing, and it's this is a great example of that.
But like
and
how
we
too.
and how you and I met YouTube, and you know, we both ended up going to the same, I mean, you and I ended up going to the same market. I remember you said, I mentioned I went to a place that had dumplings, and you thought that's at my local market, and we didn't even realize we'd been going to the same market. And how big is London, and how many people are here? And we ended up living literally at that time a 15-20 minute walk from each other. We could have been anywhere in the world. So it's funny. Those amazing bits along the way that we have to remember. Everything is seen, God hears everything, and it's all orchestrated through God helps those who help themselves. We have to help ourselves first, and then the rest, the how, gets taken care of. Oh, thank you, Sally. It was good to revisit that, because there was some bits in there I hadn't remembered until you shared it again. So it was good to go back over it. It's great. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for taking the time and for all that you do there. You know, it's not, I often listen to you when I'm not, you know, it's not I'm not as I should be, and you are a major blessing for me and for so many, and yes, so thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sally. Thank you. And I love just watching the continuation of what's next for you, because I know you've got things in the pipeline which we won't talk about, because it's not good to talk about things before, but that can be for another interview at another time. When the next amazing chapter hatches, there's a little crack on the egg, but the little chick hasn't poked through yet.
That is true. That is true.
Not yet. Well, do you want to say bye to everyone? I'll say bye, and then we can
All
talk.
right, bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you can apply some of the things that Sally shared to your own current situations. I will see you, as always, in the next YouTube.